Spaghetti and meatballs, myself and drunk driving, Telltale games and choice-based storytelling. Some combinations are timelessly perfect. Telltale games help define a genre of interactive storytelling built on emotional engagement and the feeling of making actually important decisions. The gameplay in between those sections was never anything to write home about. I mean, how many of you actually played their games and remember the gameplay? You know, nobody does. It's just the buffer to fill out the time before getting to the next important story beat or conversation. It was never bad or anything, but it definitely wasn't good. They gave us gems like The Walking Dead and The Wolf Among Us, which both demonstrated how video games could prioritise character drama and tension over mechanical complexity or, I don't know, being good at aiming or whatever. You know, it's pretty good. You really felt like you had to make choices in those games that were supposed to affect the entire story, even though a lot of the time it didn't really matter what you chose. No matter what, your choices often funneled back into a fixed storyline, with your choices throughout the series providing very negligible differences for the end result. You know, even with that said though, Telltale proved that the experience of choosing could be compelling in itself, as long as the story and the characters were well written. And with the creation of Dispatch, it's a formula that is still proven to work. Dispatch is incredible. It takes a lot of what Telltale has focused on with their emphasis on character and world writing, but to me it represents an evolution in that formula in both the narrative quality and the actual gameplay, which in Dispatch has now been transformed into this really fun gameplay loop that both fits with the story and is rewarding to actually engage with. It's really fun. However, while Dispatch does excel in a lot of those areas compared to those previous Telltale games, it shows very little progress in how player choice affects the overall structure of the story. This doesn't necessarily undermine Dispatch as a narrative experience in its own right. The game is confidently written, and the characters that we do get to know are consistently engaging and fairly nuanced. I mean, there's a case to be made about some of the less involved characters, but in general, at surface level, they're all pretty good. The dialogue in this game is exceptional, man. I mean, it's so goddamn funny.
I'm a bitch, my name's Robert, such a bitch whose name is Robert. I'm a bitch, I'm a bitch.
A lot of video game humour can come off as cringe or just, you know, sometimes miss the mark, but that is not a problem that this game has at all in the slightest. The writing also allows a lot of the relationships to feel fairly authentic, even though with some characters, you can sometimes feel like you're being nudged back into a fixed path. It is overall a very fun story and a very good game, but my problem is not with the story or the writing or the characters or the gameplay, but it's a system of choice that's surrounding all of them that I don't think matches the quality of those other aspects of the game. It has the same issue that the old Telltale games did. You are asked to decide things that feel important. These moments are framed as meaningful, and because the writing is so strong, they often in the moment feel meaningful too. But once you get to the end of an episode or even finish the game and zoom out a bit, you can look at how the story actually unfolds, and it becomes clear that very little of what you chose truly changes anything. The plot still moves for the exact same major beats towards the same conclusions regardless of how you behave. Your choices and conversations, they do affect relationships and Robert's attitude as a character, but they don't really have much of an impact on the world. I mean, just as one example, I think it's kind of astounding that no matter how the final moments of this story play out, the ending scene is always the Z-Team lifting you up in the air with a free cheers hooray kind of feeling. Like, come on man, give me a little bit of variation. Give me an ending where the Z-Team hates me. Give me an option where some of them actually die. Give me an ending where I join Shroud and get to listen to Matt Mercer's sultry voice for the rest of the game.
Where the fuck is it?
I don't know, just give me some stakes. This lack of consequence was understandable when Telltale first popularised their format, because simply being able to choose at all felt new. It's really annoying because Dispatch has the emotional depth and the character work to support real divergence in the story, but it never really allows a player to commit to it. Just writing all of this out feels like such a catch-22, because this doesn't mean that the choices in Dispatch are worthless. They do still matter emotionally, but emotional variation is not the same as narrative consequence, which is what I was really looking for in a game like this. Without at least some major branches, without endings that reflect fundamentally different paths rather than just decisions at the end of the game, the weight of decision making is extremely limited and, in my opinion, really hinders the replayability or exploration of other options, because there's not really much of a point. Dispatch does feel like an evolution of the Telltale formula, just not in one of the most key factors, I think. The gameplay is better, the humour lands way more often, and the characters are more confident than most of its predecessors, which is a high bar in of itself. But the underlying philosophy of choice affecting your story remains almost untouched, and that's what annoys me about it. When a game is this well made, you want your choices to carry the same weight as its characters and themes. I think Dispatch shows that the classic Telltale formula does still work, and it has grown in some aspects, but they really need to work on that whole decision making process. It is a really incredible game and a really fun world, and I do hope that we get a sequel in some form, whether it's a season 2 or a sequel to Robert's story, whatever. I just hope that whatever form it does take, Ad Hoc Studios decides to give players a little bit more agency.
Still, I guess some people aren't going to be happy with your choices.